What is good, Grizzlies? Hey, I hope you had a great weekend and a happy Mother's Day. We got a pretty easy assignment. We're doing the exact same thing. We're evaluating functions, but we're gonna try some tough ones, all right? We only got 5 in our homework. We're gonna do 4 examples together. Let's get started. No need to create one from scratch unless you want the practice. You could just use one you've already made, or you could just kind of Google one, right? And it'll show you all the answers. But in our unit circle, the first thing we start with is the degrees. We could take all of these degrees and write them in a different way, a different measure, which is called radians. Finally, all the points on this unit circle, they all have coordinates. So let's write the coordinates in. So let's look at these 4 examples together. We're evaluating the function. We have our unit circle, it's our map, and we can evaluate these without a calculator. You might notice a couple of these have negatives in front of them. We want to talk about how to do those. We also have some really big numbers bigger than 360. You want to make sure you know how to use that. Let's get started with the one on top. All right, we have the sine of 420 degrees. Remember, the cosine goes with the x coordinate and sine goes with the y coordinate. So 420 degrees, that's more than 360, so I'm going all the way around the circle. I want to find out what do I have left over. 420 minus 360 leaves me with 60 degrees. So I'm going to go to the 60-degree angle, boom, right there. I'm talking about the sine, which means I want the y coordinate. My answer is going to be root 3 over 2. Don't need to simplify, don't need to rationalize the denominator. That one was pretty easy. So if I ever have a number that's really big, I can just subtract 360 or divide by 360 and see what's left over. And whatever's left over, I'll find that on my map. Let's take a look at the next one. Next, we've got a cosine, but we're using a negative radian. Let's check it out. We have cosine of negative 5 pi over 3. Anytime there's a negative, instead of going counterclockwise, you would go clockwise. But I think it's easier to do it this way. Let's pretend there was no negative. 5 pi over 3 is right there. The cosine is the x-coordinate. Because I have a negative, I'm going to reflect over the x-axis. So check it out. I'm going to find 5 pi over 3. I've got the x-coordinate right here. But since it's negative 5 pi over 3, I'm going to reflect it over the x-axis and just come up here. I'm going to use this one. They happen to be the same number. So 1/2 is my answer. So one more time. I did the cosine of 5 pi over 3. I just did it and found it on my map. Because it was negative, I reflected over the x-axis. So if I was up here and I have a negative number, I would reflect to down here. If I'm down here and I have a negative number, I reflect to the other side. Pretty simple. Let's look at the next one. Not too bad. This one's a beast. Let's take a look at it on the unit circle. Okay, this one's really tough. We have the cotangent of negative 8 pi over 3. The negative means we're going to be reflecting over the x-axis, but I'm going to ignore that for now. Let's find out where 8 pi over 3 is on our map, okay? If I took 8 pi and divided it by 3, that would be 2, and then there would be 2 left over. So 3 can go into 8 2 times, and that would leave me with a remainder of 2. So that means 8 pi over 3 is in the same spot as 2 pi over 3. If that was confusing, rewind it, watch it one more time. So we're right here at 2 pi over 3, but because there's a negative, I need to reflect it. So I'm going straight down here. Now, the cotangent is what we're using to evaluate the function. If tan is sine divided by cosine, then cotangent would be the reciprocal of that. It would be the cosine, or the x-coordinate, divided by the sine. So we have here negative 1/2 divided by negative root 3 over 2. And we have a little bit of work to do. This isn't too hard. Let's change it to a multiplication problem. I'm going to take the reciprocal of the second fraction here. So now I have negative 1/2, and I'm going to multiply by negative 2 divided by root 3. A negative multiplied by a negative is a positive, so we have 2 on the top and 2 root 3 on the bottom. These are going to simplify and cross cancel, but I'm not allowed to have a square root in the denominator, so let's rationalize it. I have root 3 on the top and then just regular 3 on the bottom. The square roots cancel away. That's a tough problem. That one has some work to show. Let's recap what happened. 8 pi over 3, we found out is the same as 2 pi over 3. Because we have a negative, we're going to reflect it over the x-axis. Cotangent would be the cosine divided by the sine. When I divide these, I get stuff to simplify away, and then I rationalize the denominator to get root 3 over 3. Let's do our last example. Final example is cosecant of negative 420 degrees. So again, we know we're reflecting. Let's ignore the negative for now. Let's find out where 420 is. So if I have 420 and I subtract 360, that's going to leave me with 60 degrees. Okay, so 420 is the same as 60, like in our first example right here. Because it's negative though, I need to reflect over the x-axis. So I'm going to go straight down to this point. Cosecant is the reciprocal of sine. Sine goes with the y-coordinate. So instead of negative root 3 over 2, we're going to have negative 2 over root 3. I need to rationalize the denominator. Let's do it over here. I'm going to multiply by root 3 on the top and bottom. So I get negative 2 root 3 all over 3. There's nothing to simplify. Here's the answer to the last example. Hey, so these are pretty tough. We've got an assignment with 5 problems. If you need to go back and maybe watch these examples one more time, that could help. Make sure you're showing your work and writing your answers big and clear. Let's say you submit an assignment in, and then on Thursday you get a grade back. You only got 1 out of 5 right. You can always try the assignment again and resubmit it as many times as you want, as long as you turn it in before Monday, 3 p.m. I usually grade everyone's work on Thursdays and either Sunday night or Monday morning. So if you get an assignment back and you want to try it again for full credit, even if you're only missing 1 point, you could always resubmit it for full credit. I hope you guys have a great day. Here are your 5 problems for homework. We'll see you next time.